The following is a sponsored program. High Desert Broadcasting is not responsible for the views or claims expressed in this program.
And good morning. You're listening to AVNewscast.com on News Talk 1380.
Let me see, am I on?
You're on.
Yeah, you're
I hear
on.
you.
Yeah?
I hear you.
Okay. So today's Monday. We had a great show on Friday.
Yeah, we did.
It's about as controversial as you can get. I mean, especially when you've got in-studio registered sex offenders. And we were talking about this on Friday, and we had Michelle on the show. And she's going to be calling in perhaps later on today. But, we've got a bit of a follow-up today.
But before you lead into that, the show on Friday really encompassed so many different factors and reasons and issues and concerns. It's just not a show. It wasn't just a show about sex offenders, really. It had so many different layers upon layers of different kinds of, either it was justice or injustice or, how we're supposed to deal with them after it was just so many different things that we could go on about this for months.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, because there's so many different layers that I hadn't even considered. I was just frustrated and just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But then talking to both of them, I started thinking different ways about different situations, which I'm not even clear about what I feel right now. But it's just very convoluted.
You just stirred up the hornet's nest.
You're having a hard time wrapping your head around the whole thing.
I totally have a hard time wrapping my head because I don't want to be who I am in this, because I'm really easy. If I meet you and you have a story that's gonna pull my ear, I'm just gonna go for it, and I don't want to get wrapped up and then it not be the case, and it's just hard.
I had a lot of people. One of the guys we had on the show was Andy, who's here in studio again. But I had a lot of people actually hit me up after the show. That listened to what he had to say and listened to what we had to say, and actually felt that they could feel that he got the wrong end of the stick. They actually
I got
felt
the same
for him.
reaction.
Yeah,
Okay,
I did too.
Now the other guy that was on the show, I forgot his name. Help me out. You guys?
Richard.
Okay.
Richard.
No, that was on the show on Friday.
Yeah.
Richard. Nobody, everyone that reached out to me, they didn't buy into what he had to say at all.
No.
Okay. So that was interesting, and since Andy's in studio again today, I want him to understand that the general public that's out there, they were feeling the hard road ahead that he's been having to, with the ball and chain.
But even saying that, some of the road that he's dealing with is a self-prescribed road. You know what I mean? Like, if you would have just done what you were supposed to, it was what it was.
Yeah, I know.
But,
I know.
You know what I mean? And it's like, so it's kind of hard. It's hard to wrap your head.
It is now tomorrow night, and let's hey Andy, come on up and let's hook him up to a microphone. Yeah. Tomorrow night, the city of, and I'm going to just go out with this right now.
Right.
Tomorrow night is a city council meeting in Lancaster, and for those of you that go to the city council meetings or that have been following things going on in the city of Lancaster,
or have even been thinking about going to a city council meeting.
Yeah, now on the city of Lancaster's website, they have tomorrow night's agenda, and the city of Lancaster adopted pretty strict, stern sex offender ordinances, or ordinances that applied to sex offenders from moving about the city.
Right.
Okay. And that's been on the books, for a year or two. And tomorrow night, it looks like it's coming up for a vote that the city is taking a position to repeal those ordinances.
Really?
Tomorrow night, they will leave up the Halloween
Operation Boo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's in there, but it does look like, so as far as them, they talked about movie theaters. I mean, all kinds of different things. It looks as though the city is going to send it up for a vote and
That's
repeal
an important
that.
one to go to.
Pardon me?
That's an important one to go to.
Well, you can go with Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go with
You live
Jeffrey.
there.
I have my first Palmdale School Board meeting tomorrow night, and I
Okay.
can't go.
No, we understand.
I
we
would
have-
love to go.
We have somebody on the line that was instrumental in what's going on tomorrow.
Well, let's bring her on too. Hi, is this Michelle?
Good morning.
How are
Yes, I'm fine, and it's Michelle and Andy's mom.
you? Michelle and Andy's mom.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Hi, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Where's Andy's mom?
Right here.
Oh, good. What's your first name?
Florence.
Florence. We had Andy on the show on Friday, and I was telling him before we went on live on the air this morning that I had a lot of calls, a lot of text messages, a lot of emails from people that listened to the show that truly felt in their heart of hearts that he got the wrong end of this deal. Okay? And I told him that this morning, and that I wanted him to understand that the general public out there listened to what he had to say, and they felt for him. They felt that it wasn't fair. So I just want to say that up front. But let me ask you a question. When this was going on, were there options or positions that you could have taken that maybe would have prevented this?
Maybe if I had more money to get a better lawyer. The whole thing was I reached out to the other young man's mother, and I knew my son was innocent. Before, I even talked to I had 3 other children. I talked to them, and I had to ask them, is it even possible that you think your brother could do this? Everybody around Andy, no. I didn't believe for a moment. When I was with the other mother, we talked about it. We were on the phone. I was calling her every night, and she said some things to me that, that I didn't understand when she mentioned that when they talked to Bobby, who was Andy's friend at the time, that they didn't want Bobby to do it by themselves. And I go, what are you saying? And after that, she didn't want to talk to me anymore. Well, of course, I went to the lawyer I was talking to. But the whole thing is they wanted him to plead not to contest. And up to the last minute, I was with Andy. You can't plead no contest because no matter what, even if they give you 10 years, 10 years would be better than not contesting. Well, we were up to the very last day and ready to go to trial. And the lawyer kept telling my father, telling everybody, my family, that we were there. If he pleads no contest, he goes home today. And with Andy, when he pleaded no, he didn't contest, I fell to the ground. But never would I have ever guessed that because of that, in fact, I was angry at Andy that day. But because of all that and what's happening now, it's a nightmare. This is not even my son who they talk about.
Well,
the last time when... Oh, go ahead, please.
No, that's a very common thing, especially for people that have been arrested. It's a very common thing that if they cop a plea, they can get out, and people do that. But what's difficult for me is that he was 13, he was arrested for and convicted for committing a sexual offense against another human being, right?
Yes.
Okay, but at that point, and Andy, chime in anytime you want to. At that point, though, the reason that he is stuck with the GPS and has to register as a sex offender today is not because of that offense, but because of what happened later on in not following the rules. Am I right?
Correct.
See, that's. Are you with me, Andy?
I hear you.
See, and that's the thing.
Complicated the whole thing.
Okay, and I kind of get that. You took the attitude that I'm not going to follow this rule because I didn't do it. I already admitted to a crime that I never committed. Now you guys want me to do more? Forget it. I'm just passing on that. Am I right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you are today.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I understand, you know, at 13, were you incarcerated at 13? Did they hold you until the trial was over?
I was incarcerated, and I wasn't allowed to go back home to live at home. I was placed with my grandparents, and then I went to live with my other grandmother. And not until when I did the no contest, then I was able to go back home and be with my family again. But back then I didn't understand the impact of everything. As an adult, it's all be a lot clearer. I got to bear this, they say, for the rest of my life, and that's pretty hard to bear.
Well, that's why children aren't allowed to make decisions for themselves,
Yeah.
basically, because they don't
But
have
they
that.
but they allowed him to make that decision.
That's crazy.
yes,
why
but-
would the attorney allow, or why would the judge allow him to make that call? I mean, I just can't understand. You're not supposed to be able to sign a contract before you're 18. So I was under the impression that as the mother, the whole thing would have been spoken through you, the mom.
No, that's just it. Even when I spoke to the lawyers, they didn't even want me present.
My mother fired the first lawyer I had because he was no help at all. And we had that second lawyer. I don't know if that was a paid lawyer or not, Ma, but he wasn't much help either.
Okay, now, laws, lots of things could change going on in the future. Okay, and maybe something will happen that could benefit you. But the thing is, Andy, you got to just keep moving forward. What happened in the past happened. There's nothing you can do about it today, not right now. And yeah, you have that proverbial ball and chain that you've got to deal with. You've just got to keep going forward. People actually, when you tell them, and when you tell your story that you did something at 13 years old or let me correct that. You were convicted at 13 years old for committing a crime that you didn't commit.
Can I speak for a second, please?
Yeah.
I have something to say. When Andy took that GPS off right around Christmas time, the thing that always kept me strong is he wrote me a letter. And if I can just read this small paragraph to you so you know my son's mind. And when he went up, I thought he went to commit suicide when he took the GPS off, because he went up in the snow, and we really didn't believe he was coming back. But he wrote me this: time belongs to the Most High. Though days come and go, there is an appointed time for everything. I thank the Lord above for giving me that time I spent on the trail. How I miss those mountains. You already know how refreshing the water can be out there. There were even times when the birds allowed me to be a part of their song. But most of it all, I surrendered to the Most High and gave him my heart to do with me as he pleases. And indeed, if it means that my heart must sink to the earth from time to time and terror would seize me from all sides as well, then so be it. That he considered me at all is beyond all my comprehension. Even so, I will carry the message of salvation through the Lord Jesus Christ to the very end. Thank you for your prayers. You two are always in my prayers and within my heart. That's my son. And the way they made him into a monster. When he took that off, we truly believed he wasn't coming back, that he was just going to lay down in the snow.
I can certainly see how you would believe that. Andy, what happened after you cut off your GPS?
I packed my backpack, and went out to the mountains, just to find some peace of mind. It gets hard to bear with this thing on my leg, and especially with all the ways people think of me, the person I am. I'm not that person. They put my face on the paper and in the news and said I'm armed and dangerous. And, anybody that knows me knows that I'm not. And I'm not saying that, there isn't people that should have one of these on their leg. Some people should be monitored, but the Lord's my witness, I'm not one of those persons. And I really think that there has to be some reform to fix this thing.
And you know what? When it comes to your situation, I'm with you on that. And you are for every one of you, there's going to be 10,000 other guys that deserve to wear GPSs. Yeah. Okay? You are definitely the rare individual. Okay? To me, I think there's no question about that. But you have to keep going forward.
You have to. You know what? You have to make your voice count, because if there's one that does not deserve it, there's another one, and so you can't sit back and say, you know what, this is my cross to bear, and just bear it. You keep talking. You keep going. You keep letting people know your story until someone else changes it for the next person, because it's just terrible what we've learned about you. And you have to keep going.
And Angelina, you are correct on that. Andy does have a voice.
Good.
And yes, he does. And he has made an immense change, with his voice, through speaking with you and Steve and Jeff. And that's why we're bringing this to the public's attention. Coming here today, talking about sex offenders. All right, and believe me, between Andy and Richard and the other 290s, we have to let the citizens know that these ordinances that are being adopted are not necessarily in the best interest of public safety. Okay?
Well, let's delve into that a little deeper, but we're a little late for a break here.
Yeah, we've got to take a break. So stand by, ladies, and we'll be right back. Andy, I want to thank you for taking the time to come in today.
Thank you. Love you, Mom.
We're going to be talking about what you've been through, and if there's something that we can do or our listeners can do to help you out in any way, we're certainly going to ask for that too.
Okay, thank you.
All right, but thanks for taking the time. Stand by. You're listening to AV Newscast on News Talk Radio 1380, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
You may have noticed over the past couple years that people, now more than ever, have been going solar in the Antelope Valley. Hi, I'm Eric from Energy Plus Solar, and we've been installing quality solar electric systems in the Antelope Valley since 2003. With each and every customer, our desire is to get you the very best solar electric system available for the very best price. A solar electric system is meant to last for over 25 years, so it had better be built like it. At Energy Plus Solar, we're pleased to be partnering with SunPower Solar Modules and offering the world's most efficient and reliable solar panels with an unmatched 25-year panel warranty. In addition, we use only the highest quality components and methods for the balance of the system. And when it comes to financing your solar electric system, Energy Plus Solar offers many options. Whether you want to lease or purchase, we can design an option to fit your needs. So why keep giving away your hard-earned money to the utility company when you can control your electricity costs? For more information, check us out online at energyplussolar.com or give me a call at 718-2070. That's 718-2070 and start saving today with Energy Plus Solar.
Do you think of golf all the time? Do you imagine you're playing golf all the time? Do you take practice swings in the hallway or in your cubicle? Do you know a golfer? Is he or she as addicted as you are? Then you need to get a grip.
Hi, this is Paul from the Get a Grip Golf Talk Show, and we can help get your fix. Swing fix, that is. We'll be going on the air to be heard on Saturdays from 9 to 10 in the morning on 1380 AM. We'll be talking PGA, LPGA, Champions Tour, from tee to green and everything in between. Giving you product reviews, what's in the bag, golf tips, lots of call-ins, giveaways, and more. So listen in and get a grip.
If you're thinking about getting your backyard in shape for entertaining, there's only one place to shop, and that's Abadak Outdoors in Palmdale. At Abadak Outdoors in Palmdale, you'll save up to 70% off retail every day at our factory warehouse showroom. Abadak has everything you need to get your backyard in shape, like 7.5-foot tall, 41,000 BTU, freestanding LPG patio heaters for just $159.99. How about a fully enclosed backyard gazebo? Fire up that barbecue and enjoy a nice meal inside one of our Mandalay, Trinidad, or Mykonos freestanding gazebos, just $219.97 every day. If you want wholesale prices, come to Abadak Outdoors in Palmdale. How about backyard shade or car canopies? You can pick a variety of color choices starting at just $129.97. Stop by Abadak Outdoors in Palmdale. We're located at 38940 Trade Center Drive, 1 block east of 10th Street West. The Abadak Factory Showroom is open from 8 to 4 every day. That's Abadak Outdoors at 38940 Trade Center Drive in Palmdale, where you'll save up to 70% off retail every day. Check us out on the web at abadak.com or give us a call at 661-480-1562.
Welcome back to AVNewscast.com on News Talk 1380.
That's a really tough deal talking to Andy about, what went on.
I
don't like anything about that.
No.
And I'm sure, between our listeners, us, and everybody else, I'm sure that somebody can do something to help him out, and that's what we got to push toward. We got a lot of callers on the line.
Yeah.
Who else have we got?
Janice?
Janice, the attorney that's been working with Michelle and over the...
Well, can we put Janice on? Can we put them all on?
I can't. I lose one for those.
Oh, okay. Let's go with Janice. Is Janice on?
Let me switch her.
Okay, hang on. Oh, you had to dump the other one?
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, Michelle.
I'm going to be getting a text here in a minute.
Janice?
Sorry.
I'm here.
Hi, Janice. Thanks for holding on the line. This is Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Janice. So you are an attorney in California, right?
I am.
And you've been working with Michelle, and primarily, were you the attorney that crafted the legal action against the city of Lancaster for their sex ordinance laws?
That's me.
Okay. And I understand, and it is up on the city of Lancaster's website, that they do have a motion that's coming up tonight to actually repeal the ordinances that they had put in place.
Correct.
Right? So, and they're repealing them, correct me if I'm wrong, not because they don't want them, but because it's viewed as unconstitutional.
I don't know about what their motive for doing that is. I believe that on that agenda for the city council meeting, they specifically mentioned the litigation. I really don't think they agree with us that it's unconstitutional.
Which parts are they going to recall, though? Because it's not the whole thing, right?
Well, they're taking everything away. They're proposing, anyway, taking everything away except for a small Halloween ordinance.
Okay.
So that was the gimme.
Right.
Right?
Yes. I mean, they think that they still need to have a sex offender ordinance, and so it appears what they're doing here is they're leaving one small provision in there that has to do with how registered sex offenders celebrate Halloween.
So what's wrong with having a sex offender ordinance?
Well, the fact is that it doesn't protect anybody having a sex offender ordinance, and the other fact is that it violates the state and federal constitutions.
Well, how does it not protect anybody?
Well, the fact is that at least 93% of children are sexually assaulted by somebody they know, not by somebody on the registry. So we're talking about a family member, we're talking about somebody who's a teacher, a coach, a member of the clergy, that are, in fact, the ones who are perpetrating sexual assault. So telling a stranger who happens to be a registered sex offender that they can't go to a park, that just doesn't stop anything. The other thing is, of course, is that the sexual assaults that do occur, too, very rarely occur in a park or any other public place. That's only about 3%. So basically passing
That's 3% too many, though, as far as I'm concerned.
But you know what the reality is? They don't care if they're told not to come to the park. If they're going to go do that, they're going to do it. So the ordinance really not... Yeah, the ordinance not doing anything about that.
But it's heaping more penalties on somebody for doing that.
Yeah, but if you think about it, too, and, I mean, the Constitution, and that's where I come in from this. This is my perspective, is I'm here to protect the Constitution. And from, many times in our society, there are people who are considered unpopular. So we can think about the Japanese in World War II, and they were unpopular.
Did the Japanese force themselves on somebody and
no,
steal their innocence? And that's not a good comparison.
No, she's going to get there. Just give her a minute.
No, what I'm talking about again is that these are times when our country seems to turn its back to our Constitution, which is in fact what we're based upon. That's our foundation. And once you create cracks in that foundation, you can't go back. So what we're here to do is we're here to protect the Constitution. And think about it. People who are on that registry are on the registry for a lifetime in California. You know, you can't get off the registry. And whether or not you somebody who urinated in public or you had consensual teen sex, you're a teenager, she's a teenager, you're on that list for a lifetime.
Well,
you don't need to protect the public from people like that.
I'm not going to say that there are some people, some offenses that are on that list that shouldn't be. The peeing on the dumpster thing is completely ridiculous to me. But I can't, my heart won't bleed for somebody that, you know, loses some rights because they took away the rights from somebody else. I'm sorry, I can't hurt for them.
Well, you should hurt for a Constitution then. I mean, there are people...
No, I think some people, you do something, and the Constitution isn't valid for you anymore. If you took away the constitutional rights of somebody else, then I'm sorry. Boo-hoo for you.
That's not what it says, Steve. The Constitution
This is Jeff.
for I'm sorry, Jeff. If the Constitution is for everybody in our country, it's not just for the people who you like.
It's not. It has nothing to do with like.
Yeah,
it has to do with raping somebody and taking away their rights. What happened to the victim? What happened to their rights? Who's screaming for that?
There are many organizations that are there for victim rights, and I was somebody who supports victim rights, absolutely. But there is a fine balancing that needs to be done, and the problem is that our elected officials have gone after this with a bazooka when they should, in fact, be using a fly.
I think literally a bazooka would be the thing to go after them with.
You know, I understand. This is Steve. I understand exactly what you're saying, and you know, I do agree that we do have the Constitution, and you know, we can't go making up our own laws. However, when you're talking about such an awful, heinous crime, you know, and let's just talk about a child that's walking to school that gets pulled off the street at 10 years old and behind the bushes and gets raped.
Yeah, those.
When you're talking about such a crime like that, people tend to throw the Constitution out the window and want to do whatever they can to protect the child.
Yeah.
Well, the crime you have described is despicable, absolutely despicable, and that person should, in fact, be punished. So I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is an ordinance like the city of Lancaster passed, which applies to everybody on the registry. So your public urinator, your consensual teen sex, somebody sends a sex message to someone, and they're on the registry for a lifetime. That's what we're objecting to.
I understand, and you know what, and I get that. And now there's other stuff, you know, like the city of Lancaster.
So take them off and
leave
it for everybody else.
I don't think there's any argument here that those people need to be off. That should not put you on the registry. That just dilutes.
I think for me personally, the issue is more along the lines of if you're really qualified to have that on your forehead, if you are truly a sex offender that's done something heinous, I don't care about your constitutional rights, and I don't think most people do. So I think that it's about stripping the garbage, get the Andes off the list, get the other, this silly kids that acted impulsively off the list, clean it up. But then leave the list the way
we're working with the state legislature right now to get something called a tiered registry bill that would produce that effect. So in other words, it would get the people who don't belong on the registry off the registry.
Okay.
We tried that last year, Assembly Bill 625 last year, and unfortunately it was not successful. We're going to try something like that again this year. 46 out of 50 states in our country have a tiered registry. We're only one of 4 that doesn't. And so if we had a tiered registry, what you just described could in fact happen.
Well, I'm all for getting the nonsense off it.
And you know
There's
what?
people
I think
that don't belong in that, but the ones that do.
Yeah, and I think what's important, because when we had the first show on Friday, I was sick to my stomach because I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I group them all together in one basket because I'm not educated like this. So this whole tiered system and everything else needs to really have a place in the public eye. People need to know who's losing their rights, and based on what criteria, so that we can say, you know what, no, it's the ones that raped the 10-year-old, that, molested this, and all those things. They need to stay home and watch blockbusters and never go to the movie theater and live, in whatever it is that we deem appropriate for them. But people like you need to make this really public. I mean,
well, thanks to people like you, you're putting the subject on the radio, which is fantastic, because so many people now are reacting from fear and misinformation.
Yep.
And the fact is, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation put out a statistic in October of last year. CDCR is not a friend of sex offenders, and when they put out the statistic, it just is fantastic. So it's 1.9%. We're talking about less than 2% of the people on the registry reoffend. That is, that they commit a second sexual offense. And that is so different than what most people have in their mind. But that is the fact, and that comes from CDCR.
Well, can I just say one thing? Because I know we have to go to break. But, when Michelle first said to us 1.9% reoffend, the first thing that came to my mind was, but they offended 60 people before they got caught. So it didn't make it didn't do anything for me, that number. And it really still doesn't. I don't
Steve's
want...
got somewhere to go, too.
Sorry.
Well, no, keep going.
Oh.
I know people who are on the registry for one offense that they committed, sometimes when they were addicted to alcohol or they were addicted to drugs. It was over 30 years ago, one man in particular, and he's still on the registry, and he has no hope of getting off until and unless we have a tiered registry.
All right.
Yeah, and this is Steve again. This has definitely been an educational process for me, and I'm not going to speak for Jeff and Angelina, but I will for me. It definitely has been an educational process for me, and a tiered system that would make the laws perhaps more stringent or more applicable to the people that it needs to make them make it applicable, I think would be great. And one thing that I do want to just mention real quick is, I know there's a lot going on in the legislature. There's also a Senate bill, which is Senate Bill 386.
Right, we oppose it. And so Senate Bill 386, the reason we do is Senate Bill 386 would let every city and every county pass their own park presence restriction. And the problem with that is, one, it's too broad because it covers too many classifications of people, including on the registry. And then the other thing is that it's creating total chaos right now. We have such a hodgepodge of laws on the books in these different cities and counties. It's impossible for somebody on the registry to be a law-abiding citizen. And what I mean by that is, in Orange County in particular, you can go on a pier in one city and you can't go on the pier on the other city. And oh, by the way, there are no signs telling you can't do that, but if you should get caught there, they can put you in jail for up to 6 months and fine you up to $1,000.
Well, shouldn't that be your responsibility to know, though, what the ordinances are?
No, I think it's impossible. We have over 300 ordinances in our state. And let me give you an example. Again, Orange County. You go in, you're a surfer. You're on a beach. The beach that's legally for you to go there. You go on into the ocean. You've got a current that pushes you down south, and the next thing you know, you get out and you're on a beach that you're not supposed to be. But you don't even know that because you're not planning to go there.
I understand that. Let me ask you a question, Janice. Let's say tomorrow night at Lancaster City Council meeting, it goes to a vote, and they vote unanimously to repeal this ordinance. And then, let's say, in the state legislature, Senate Bill 386 gets passed. Doesn't that then give Lancaster permission to do what they want?
Well, it certainly would give them permission to pass another ordinance, but you still have the Constitution to be considerate of.
I know.
Just because the state law gets passed doesn't mean any ordinance that gets passed is going to agree with the Constitution.
I know. I understand that. We've got to take a break. Can I thank you for taking the time to hold on and to come on the show today? I think it's been a great process for us, for our listeners, and we'd like to invite you back on the show.
I'd love to do it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks for taking the time, Janice.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, you're listening to AV Newscast on News Talk Radio 1380, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Why Want to make yourself more appealing to employers and take your career to the next level while enhancing your flexibility and improving your business leadership skills? Well, getting your MBA can do just that. California State University Bakersfield in the AV is responding to your needs and expanding its high-quality MBA program to the Antelope Valley. That's right. Now, right here in the AV, you have access to an AACSB MBA program, one of the top 5% MBA programs worldwide. The program can be completed in as little as 21 months and for less than $27,000. Convenient class schedules make it easier to continue working full-time while pursuing your MBA degree. To learn more about this high-quality MBA program, visit csub.edu/BPA/MBA or contact the MBA office at 952-5009. That's 952-5009. Registration is open now, so apply online at csubmentor.edu for the MBA program at California State University Bakersfield in the AV.
Great party, huh, guys?
Yeah, it is. So much fun.
If I do say so myself. Hey, did you know that birthday parties actually help build confidence in kids?
Yeah, I did know that.
Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Right, of course.
Yeah, I knew that. Did you know that strollers have the right of way on sidewalks?
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, that's true. Did you know that friendly kids statistically have more friends?
Everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
obvious.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Think I knew that.
No, you didn't.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
That was out of bounds. Somebody call the police. They need to arrest the guy that stole that ref's glasses.
Dad?
Yes?
The computer's not working again.
Not again. Do you know how much it costs every time we have to call the agents out? And then it never runs as good as they say it would.
My friend Karen was telling me about where she takes her computers. She says they always get it fixed fast and right, and their prices are super reasonable.
That's right, Dad. I heard her talking all about them. They fix viruses, they build computers, and they even have classes on how to use them. They even helped my class edit a video project.
Who are they?
Your IT Computer Services and Repair.
That's right. Your IT Computer Service and Repair, 661-722-1996. That's 661-722-1996. Again, 661-722-1996. Call a professional, not a geek.
And welcome back to avnewscast.com on News Talk 1380, the show that always sticks to its schedule and its breaks. And
yeah. Well, what can you do? It's a hot topic.
Yeah, that's true.
What can you do? We've got another gentleman here. His name is Richard, retired parole officer.
Yes.
Can we? Well, let's try to get Richard on. I've got a couple of questions for him. You know, I don't disagree with what Janice was saying as far, you know, we do have the Constitution, okay? And I know, you know, you're to hell with the Constitution.
Yeah, I am too, though, for a lot of things.
I know, but you can't do that.
Why can't they be given the same constitutional rights that the victim had? Which is none.
I get you.
I mean, if you take somebody's, I think you forfeit yours, right?
I understand. I understand. Hey, Richard?
Yes.
Hi. Okay, for our listeners that are just tuning in, okay, so you were a corrections officer for a number of years, then you became a parole officer.
Yes.
Okay. What's your take on this whole sex offender, sex registry? You know, that's the most awful crime. When you talk about that crime to anybody, that's the most awful crime anyone can think of. Way beyond murder.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Because, you murder somebody, their pain is done. But somebody that's violated it, like the way we're talking about, that's with them for the rest of their days.
Now, as a corrections officer, as a parole officer, you're behind sex offender reform?
I support
the reform in the sex offender, what's happened over the years, terrible things have happened that led to Jessica's laws and other laws, and some of the information or that was added to some of the bills allowed the cities and counties to further enhance what they wanted to do to make the communities safer. But in doing so, they did violate other people's rights.
Oh, okay, and I get that. So, but your argument basically is this, okay? A guy goes out and rapes a 10-year-old child, and we can't do anything to that guy that would be unconstitutional, even though that person went beyond breaking any constitutional rights that poor child had.
That is not what I'm saying, and I do not agree with that. What I'm saying is that there were laws already in place to address those issues, but somewhere along the way, laws were added retroactively, either through the state legislature or whatever, with people just trying to do the right thing but not realizing the impact it was going to have on people in the future, people that might have mooned or streaked. And, you know, when I was growing up, they were streaking, mooning people in colleges and doing things like that.
That was back in your days, wasn't it?
Yeah. And those kinds of things, even though they may have been misdemeanors or whatever, automatically made you, if you were one of those people and had been found guilty for a misdemeanor, now a sex offender. So it didn't matter if you were one of the ones that made the heinous crime, or one of them that was just urinating in public because nature called, and now you're lumped with everybody. And that distorted the whole entire view. So, someone who was charged with a misdemeanor back in the 80s now, and I don't understand how those laws could have been made retroactively, but they were. And now we're in the situation where we are now.
Right, and so you're not out championing reform on laws against rapists. What you're saying is the guy that happens to pee on a dumpster at 2 o'clock in the morning on his way home because he's just got to go to the bathroom. You're out for that type of reform.
Yes, and if you go by the homeless shelter in Lancaster and you see these tents put up on the outside because they can't stay at the shelter for too many days in a row and maybe every other day, and where do they go to the restroom? And and what's the sheriff's going to do? Park a vehicle there and then start citing everybody and then adding them to the register? With kids that there's a show on TV, pregnant at 16 or whatever. Yeah. I mean, what are they going to do now? Are they going to park a sheriff over at to see who had a premature baby before, or a baby before they actually turned 18, and then try to find out who the parent was, the father, so that they can charge him if he was over 18? I mean, there's a lot of things, that affect. I mean, almost every family could be affected by something like this.
I understand, and in a lot of cases, we're overzealous.
Yeah, it can be, and these things need to be thought through. And because some of these things really weren't thought through, and a lot of people don't look to the future, then you have things that have happened, with the previous speaker.
I'm no fan of this zero tolerance, no shades of gray nonsense. I don't understand why we can't just clean out the ones that don't belong on there and heap all the restrictions possible on the ones that do belong.
Exactly. And that's basically what the sex offender reform laws are.
The tiered system.
The tiered system. Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to do.
I don't even
unburden. He can't even find a job.
I don't believe in the tiered system.
He can't stay where with his family. And the local communities, I know they're trying to do the right thing, but in the reality, they're making it more difficult for that person to get a job, to find a home. There's a lot of people that say, "Well, I'm Christian, I'm this and that, and I don't like what happened, so this is what I'm doing." But why don't you give these people a shot at redemption? Mm-hmm. I haven't seen I don't understand how someone could say they're Christian and not give somebody a shot at redemption.
Okay, but you know what, Richard? The sex offender that went to prison for 10 years for committing forcible rape against a minor or whatever it is, okay? I don't care what happens to that individual, okay? I really don't. They could take him out to the desert, tie him, pour honey over him, let the red ants get him. I don't even care. Now, in Andy's situation, for instance, okay, which you were referring to a minute ago,
yes.
I think that's bad. And what pisses me off more about that is that Andy wouldn't be in this situation, setting aside that he was convicted for a crime that he didn't commit. He wouldn't be in the situation if he had followed the rules and reported to the sheriff's department or law enforcement when he was supposed to, when he turned 18 or 21 or whatever he had to do. Okay, then he wouldn't have compounded the problem. And that pisses me off.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is it was the retroactive application of those new laws that put him in that situation.
Oh, so regardless, he would have been classified as a sex offender.
No. Had that not been put in there,
no, I'm saying with the new law. So regardless to whether or not he actually went to the sheriff department when he was 21, he still would have gotten that. He still would have been classified as a sex offender because of the retroactive law. And the retroactiveness.
Yeah, the new law came into effect and retroactively classified him that
way.
So
even if he did go in at 21, so what I'm saying is it's not because he didn't do that part that he's got that label. It's because of the law and the fact that it was retroactive.
Right, and it required him to go in and report.
So it really didn't matter.
And the sex offender reform that Ms. Belushi's working on is trying to correct that.
We need this education.
If that gets corrected, then you'll probably see a lot more positive things happening for these people that can't get jobs.
Yeah, and you know what I want to say also, because you mentioned that you don't care about what happens to the heinous of the heinous. And last week I would say the same thing, but I don't need them to be homeless. So we do need to care about them in the sense that we need to know where they are. And have full accountability.
Yes.
Because if we put them in a point where they're absolutely desperate, then why not commit another crime? Because you can get a place to live. You can go back to jail. Let me do what my heart is telling me to do, and take down another one so I can go back and have 3 square meals and a roof over my head.
Yeah, well, Tent City by Blythe is good for me.
Yeah,
whatever it is, I just need to know where they are.
Yeah. Now let me qualify one thing though. The recidivism rate for first-time sexual offense guys that committed first, at 1.9%. Let me just make that a little broader, that the recidivism rate for people that have been convicted of a sexual offense, committing another crime, breaking off another crime, not necessarily sexual, but another crime, is higher than any other convict in the state.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, because we normally don't care where they go and what's going on with them, so we kind of do need to care.
I understand, and that's why the city of Lancaster had put in those ordinances. Okay, they wanted to, if they couldn't keep an eye on them, they wanted to keep an area that was safe. And look at the city of LA, the city of Los Angeles right now. They're building these little pocket parks all over the place. Okay, and that is to ensure that there's going to be no registered sex offenders here. And none over here, and none over here, and that's what they're doing to try to get around it.
In that one little community that can't put up a park, is going to be poor, just terrible, inundated. So
cheap
it's
real
not
estate
right.
there.
Huh?
Cheap real estate there.
Yeah.
But it's not right. You know what I mean?
I understand, and Richard, I totally understand what Janice was saying and what Michelle has been saying. There does need to be some reform in that it needs to be applicable to the people that it really needs to apply to, and then it needs to be, I'm not going to say relaxed, but it needs to be rethought.
It needs to fit. It needs to fit the crime. If
Right.
you were an idiot kid at 13 and you mooned somebody, you shouldn't have went through your adulthood, went to college, went to, started a successful career, and then all of a sudden get a notice in the mail that says, "Oh, we just passed a new law. Go down and register." That's crazy.
But that's what happened.
Yeah, I know.
It is what happened.
And that's crazy. Who thinks of these things, and why are we letting them?
We do, because it's public outcry, because you see what is going on, and the public screams more and more and more, and then a guy says, hey, I'm going to run for Senate or State Assembly, and look, the public is screaming about this, so I'm going to put that up on my up here, and that's going to be my ticket, and I'm that up on my up here, and that's going to be my ticket, and I'm going to go prosecute all these people now. He gets elected, and he writes a bill, and he's got special interest dollars, so that bill gets passed, and it goes on and on and on. And that's what happens, and that's why it's doing that.
Political grandstanding.
Yeah, and the freight train left, and you couldn't stop it.
It sure did.
And now it, perhaps maybe it needs to stop.
It does.
I'm not against. I'm not against what Mayor Rex Parris tried to do in the city of Lancaster. I'm really not. Was it overbroad? Well, you know what? If it could surgically apply to the right individuals, I don't think it's overbroad. Okay, when it applies to the masses, and you've got the guy that really shouldn't be classified as a registered sex offender, and now it messes up his entire life to where us as taxpayers, are paying for it in benefits and food stamps and everything else. And also he has no quality of life when he really shouldn't be grouped up in that. Then I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also a big cost for people that do go back to prison, like you said. I'll go back for 3 years, whatever. I'll have, a place to sleep, my meals and all that, and medical. But the thing is, it costs close to $40,000 per inmate to be housed per year, and that comes out of our tax dollars. As a citizen of this community, I don't want my money spent wrong. So the people in parole and probation are trying to do their best, but their hands are being tied. More restrictions are being put on them, and they work hard. I know. I didn't have to supervise sex offenders when I was an agent, and I know that that's when the monitors started to come in, and more applications and costs to the state, to us individually. And I don't want to see the city that I live in sued anymore. I don't want the city to pass ordinances that's going to end up costing us money in the long run.
And the litigation's expensive.
And let's build parks for the kids. Let's start them young.
Pocket parks.
No,
build them everywhere.
I mean, youth sports facilities where the children could be under the adult supervision, where they could be taught good sportsmanship, honor, respect, and those kinds of things. And we can start them young. But if we're not giving our own children the opportunity to do that, but yet we're willing to put the parents and aunts, uncles, or whatever in prison and deny them a place to live, I mean, where are our priorities? We need to work together.
Well, part of that, like you just said, is reintroducing family values that we had back in the 60s. Right. I know you weren't there. Neither one of you were there, but I was there.
I got the last 3 weeks of the 60s.
Richard, question, because you were a corrections officer. Somebody is convicted of committing a heinous sexual offense, sex crime, albeit rape or something against a child. How is that individual received when he goes to prison?
They go through a lot. The inmates have their own set of rules amongst themselves, and when a lot of them go into, even in the county jail system, it starts there. There's groups of people that want to run things within the system illegally, just them as inmates, and they start asking people, well, let me see your papers, let me see what your crime was, and sometimes they retaliate. And sometimes when they finally make it into the prison system, they go through a process where they're evaluated, and then they have to separate those.
Crimes against children, when you go to the jail or go into prison, you're in deep.
The person has a problem, and that they're going to have to deal with. So a lot of times they get moved into protective housing facilities where they're kind of put together.
Right, because, see, here's the thing that's interesting is the public outcry, against people that commit this. There's also outcry in the prison, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't like it either.
Yeah, but they will take vicious action against people. But there's they're not the only ones that get put in protective custody. There's also people that were in public office or in law enforcement that get put in those situations, where they have to go into protective custody within the prison system itself.
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger with just the politicians, aren't it?
Nobody's immune to some point of being taken care of when they get in prison based on who they were and what they did.
Right. Well, so tomorrow night is the Lancaster City Council meeting. It'll be interesting to see whether they do repeal it. You guys are going to be there?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Right.
I encourage everybody to show up.
So that's going to be that's going to be interesting. I wish I could be there. I want to thank Andy for taking the time to come on the show.
Yes.
I really appreciate it, and I do appreciate the fact that I got so much feedback from people that listened to what he had to say and felt that he was wronged. Okay, and we know that the justice system is not perfect. Okay, and I can certainly see how somebody at 13 years old can get ramrodded into saying, "Hey, if you want to go home, you want to be home with mom, you go ahead and say you're guilty."
Yeah.
And that's,
okay. I can totally get that. I want to thank Richard for coming on the show
thank you,
today
Richard.
too.
Thanks.
It's and Janice, of course, for calling in, and I'd like to have her back on. She mentioned Orange County. Orange County is a lot stricter than Lancaster.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there's no question about it. Mr. Producer, how much time do we have left? 15 seconds. 15
Ooh, there it
seconds.
is.
You've been listening to AV Newscast on News Talk Radio.